Welcome to Talk of the Town, proudly brought to you by Uniquely Nelson. I'm your host, Chris Butler. With me, Simon Duffy, General Manager of Uniquely Nelson. Today, we're coming to you from the Nelson Centre of Musical Arts. Look at this. I mean, the backdrops we've had lately have improved every time, but how are you going to top this, Simon?
It's pretty beautiful.
He was up all night sewing the curtains, refabricating the chairs.
Painting the ceiling,
Okay, you two. This is not looking good. We've got half an hour.
changing all of the light bulbs.
I know, just for this occasion.
It's amazing.
You're incredible. With me at the moment today is Jessica St. Germain, who is the Funding and Development Manager for this beautiful place. Fantastic for you to be able to join us.
Well, thanks for having me. This is a real treat.
Welcome to your own workplace.
Yes, that's right. Didn't have to go too far.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, we couldn't quite get a full house for you today.
They're
yeah.
just very quiet.
Yeah, they are. That's right. But it does show the capacity, doesn't it? We can, you can hold some pretty decent concerts here. Massive history. So we're going to get into asking about, well, first of all, a bit about you, and then we're going to talk about this amazing place. But can you tell us a little bit about your background and where you're from?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Minnesota, and I've kind of had a roundabout history in landing in Nelson. So grew up in Minnesota, and then I worked in Antarctica in my 20s. So I actually spent a lot of time in New Zealand, flying in and out of Christchurch. And I've actually been to Scott Base, the Kiwi base. Very cool. Spent some time in Antarctica. And then after that, I studied acting in Sydney. And that's where I met my husband, Dean, who also works here. And I went to NIDA, the National Institute of Dramatic Arts in Sydney. Then after that, we flew to LA, and I did more film and television in LA for several years. And we had our first child in LA, my son Julian. And then we decided, okay, it's time to get out of LA. I don't want any LA traffic. I'm done. And we went back to Minnesota to be close to my family. And we had my daughter in Minnesota. And I did film and television in Minnesota while I was there. And then 3 years ago, my husband's a Kiwi. And we decided, hey, let's give Nelson a try. So we've just been here coming on 3 years in September.
So what were you doing in Antarctica?
I was fueling airplanes and helicopters and buildings and driving big fuel trucks around, big fuel Sharons and Delta trucks and 80 below zero with 20 pounds of clothing on, climbing up buildings. And
Was that with the American contingent?
yes, yeah.
Right.
So I was on the McMurdo base. I was also went and worked and I washed dishes at the South Pole. So I've been to the South Pole, the old South Pole that's probably now buried. Yeah. So I worked in fuels.
And so
In a fridge.
Fuels to funding. It's a clear path.
had you always wanted to do that?
Well,
Yeah, how'd you end up down there?
I had a biology degree and I had graduated from university and I was just kind of bored, and someone said, oh, my friend worked in Antarctica. I'm like, well, yeah. I want to do that. So I signed up and I did it. Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy. And I went down for an entire year. That means a
year.
winter down there, which is where things get weird. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Well,
Can
you're
imagine.
cooped up, aren't you? I mean,
I had a chance to go down
blizzards.
there when I was in the army.
You did?
Yeah, and I did the same sort of thing as from wharf or airport back to base with driving trucks and forklifts.
Oh
and
yeah,
things.
the big deltas. That's what delta.
And I did passed the course, the pre-ice training course in Christchurch.
Yeah.
And then they said, right, you're going down in the second intake, which is January, February. And I turned around and said, no, I don't want to go. And my commanding officer went berserk at me. He said, you know how many people get the chance to go and work down there?
Yeah, why didn't you go?
I was only 19 and I'd got a flat with a girl and I didn't want to go.
Oh, it was a
with her.
woman.
As a woman.
Too far.
You know when you have regrets in life? I only got about 2.
Yeah.
That was top of the list.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We had to wear bunny boots on a C-130,
Mm.
landing on the ice. Yeah,
Gee.
all that.
Yes. Anyway.
Then I mean, how do you go? So you're filling up the tank and you're thinking, you know what? I want to do acting.
Yes, exactly. Well, it was not far from that.
Right.
We had done, because you have to make up your own entertainment down there. And there was a kid who was a lot of fun. He's like, oh, let's put on a Shakespeare play. I had never acted before. I was given the role of Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing, which is one of my favorite Shakespearean characters of all time. And I did it, and it was like a beam of light came into my mind. I'm like, I have to do this. And the kid that was there, was like, oh, there's a great school in Sydney. It's called the National Institute of Dramatic Arts. So I'm like, oh yeah, let's do it. I go over there not knowing that you have to audition. There were like 2,600 kids auditioning for 26 spots, but what you don't know won't kill you,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
And so what you don't know, what you don't know. And I got in,
Awesome.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a wonderful experience.
So through all that transition in your life, you ended up in Nelson.
Yeah.
And did you wait till you got here, or did you apply for the role for it? How did you get involved with NCMA?
So I actually was working at the library. So shout out to the libraries in Nelson. Love them. Just doing some casual work. And my husband was working here. So Dean St. Germain is the education coordinator here. And he had said, hey, they're looking for a funding and development manager. And I was like, I don't know. I've never done anything like that. I don't know. But he's like, I think you should talk to him. I think you should talk to him. I'm like, okay. So I sat down and I had an interview with James, our director, and Jan Treyas, our chair of the board, and just got on like a house on fire. And I said, I think I can kind of contribute something here. And it was a good match. So it was pretty cool.
So meeting your husband, did you meet your husband? Where'd you meet your husband?
In Sydney.
Oh, in Sydney, right.
In a bar, the Metro. Shout out the Metro.
And he was, so he's been a practicing musician for many years?
Yes. So
Right.
the first night I met him, we met at a show in a bar, and he goes, oh, you want to come to my gig the next day? So yeah, he's a musician. He plays the bass. He's been in bands, toured America, always been involved in music.
So and I'm interested in Minnesota because it's quite
Cold.
topical at the moment.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah.
Harris has picked a Minnesota governor.
So pick
So what was his name? Sorry, I forgot.
Tim Walz.
That's right. So and from you lived there when he was in charge, and you all good reports.
Good reports. And to be honest, I'm not super political, so I didn't watch his every move, but overall, I just remember very good things. Like,
and so Minnesota, your husband went there and you took the family there. Would it have a very similar feel to, say, Australia and New Zealand? Is it very down to earth, or is it completely different?
Well, they call it Minnesota nice, but it also has been called Minnesota ice. So I think you're okay if you know people there. It can be very, I think, isolating if you don't know, if you're new to Minnesota, because so many people have lived there their whole lives. They're still friends with people that you've gone to school with, primary school. I am. And so I had a very good time because I had that built-in friend and family group. And, Dean came along for the ride. But it does have a very smaller town feel. It's not a huge city. I mean, it's a bigger city than here, but it's a good place. It's a very good place to grow up. I love, living in Minnesota.
And then why the decision to come to Nelson?
Well, so it was lockdown and COVID and some of the political stuff going on in the States. And we kind of just looked at each other like, And my husband's a Kiwi. He was born in Whanganui. And we're like, should we do New Zealand? I don't know. Should we? I don't know. And then that little spark kind of turned into a flame. And we said, yeah, let's do it. And we were like, well, where? And I had spent time in Christchurch, and we didn't really want to go in like the North Island. And we kind of just went, where's it sunny? We looked at where's the sunniest spot on the South Island in Nelson. We're like, let's go there. I mean, that was
amazing.
kind of it.
And then he's ended up here. So did he apply or find a position here, or how did that work?
So he just applied for the job.
So there was a job going, and
yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And then how you then come into the mix? How did that work?
So he just kept on saying, they're looking for this funding and development manager. And I'm like, okay, I don't think that's me, but again, I had that interview and spoke with James and Jan, and the more and more we started talking, I was like, oh, wait, I do have a lot of these skills. I think I can help do what you guys need to do. And
that was over a year ago, wasn't it?
It will be 2 years in September. It's coming up on 2 years now. It's wild.
And so arts, there is this thing around the fact that you went down an artistic road into acting, but it is tied in with, musical arts here, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
that was something that you were familiar with.
Yeah, well, I've acted my whole life. Well, not whole life, but that was my job for
Yeah.
many, many years. So very closely related to film and television and acting. And I did some producing and I've done voiceover. I've always been like a creative person. I turned my experience from Antarctica into one woman show and I took that to LA. I did that to New York, so there's always been like creativity, and my husband, musician, artist. So we've always had this artistic, kind of vibe in our lives. And so this just made, a lot of sense to me. And I was coming from a job, if you believe it, I was a home shopping host, home
Oh,
shopping
right. Yes,
network host.
right.
Yeah. So I was just selling like random stuff that nobody needs. Nobody needs any of this stuff. I'm sorry, but you don't. And so it was a really kind of tough environment. So to come here and work for something that means something,
It's meaning.
it has meaning. And that is just like, you can't put a price tag on that. It just elevates your life, right? Because we have so many talented teachers here. We have over 800 students. And
Oh, wow.
the
That's a
stuff
lot.
that and
Yeah.
the events and the performances we put on here are amazing. So it's just been a real privilege to be a part of it.
So you've been, like I said, a year and a half, but tell us a bit about the history of NCMA. Do you
So
know-
it's got a really rich history, actually. The Nelson School of Music was actually founded in 1894. So to have that kind of history, and then this building, this auditorium, this historical building that we're sitting in right now, which is so beautiful, was built in 1901. And I know if you can see, oh yeah, awesome shit.
Yeah.
It's built, if you look at it, like the upside down hull of a boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
what
right.
that has like really given this space is some of the best acoustics. It's been touted as some of the best acoustic in the Southern Hemisphere.
Oh, right.
So musicians love to come to play here. That's why we have such an international and national draw of like
Attraction.
amazing musicians and performers that want to come and play here.
Because the International Music Festival, that is quite renowned. Is that?
The Atom, is that
Yeah,
what the Atom
Atom
Chamber?
Chamber, yeah.
The Atom Chamber Music Festival. We just had that in February. Oh my goodness. The quality and caliber of musicians and performances was just mind-blowing. And we wouldn't have that in Nelson if we didn't have
Yeah,
this
that's
building.
huge.
This
but-
building is like a treasure.
Because that's that event to me has always been a little bit under the radar, but people who are involved with it said that people travel from all over
All
the
of
world
you,
just
when the
come here.
tickets go on sale, our phones are ringing. People from England, France, the States. I mean, all
That's
over the
amazing.
world are
That's
calling. We
amazing.
get the tickets, and we've got signs up. People are lining up around the building to get these tickets. They're a
Amazing.
hot one.
Because
Yeah.
is this not the oldest musical school in New Zealand?
I don't
I
have
think of the
confirmation.
Suter as an art.
I don't know about
I thought this is
that. but
1894.
yeah.
I mean, when
1894.
you couple the history of the Suter and this, and then
Yeah.
the
Theatre
Nelson
Royal.
Theatre Royal, it's just amazing. I mean,
Great.
when
access.
artists from overseas go to Theatre Royal, they just
Like, wow.
And the job of restoration that they did at the Theatre Royal was fantastic. But I haven't been in here for a while,
Yes.
and then just to see this,
We're back. So a little
Yeah.
going back to the history, we've had this amazing, over 100-year history. And then 2013 comes and it has to be shut down because it's not earthquake standard.
Mhm.
So shut down. The community, Nelson City Council, people just pulled together. They did so much fundraising. It's a little bit before my time, but the stories that I've been told, so much work went into getting this up to standard and then adding the state-of-the-art facilities that have been built on beautiful classrooms, performance spaces. And then we were back up in 2018, just getting our feet under us. And then, of course, COVID.
Mhm.
But
Can you-
we're back. We're back now.
So can you tell us, outside of the events that you put on, can you tell us about the programs that you have here? You mentioned 800 students.
800 students. So, what's really cool is that our students range in age from like 6 months to Murray, who is 96 years old. Okay. So we facilitate everybody in between. So we've got preschool classes. We've got beginner music classes, free beginner music classes. So people can do a term, kids can do a term and see, hey, is this right for me? We've got duo classes. We do chamber music, classical music, orchestras. And one of the programs my husband has just started in the last probably 18 months is Sound Play, which is a contemporary music group where it's rock and pop.
Oh, yeah.
It started with one band. This term we have 7 bands
Wow.
of kids primary age or like intermediate to primary age playing in a group.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's just so much fun. And then you go to the adult classes, which is orchestra club, you know, for people who may have played an instrument in the past, but, you know, didn't pursue it or maybe didn't have the confidence. They can come in and play in an orchestra. There's adult beginner
Sweet.
orchestra. There's all of these amazing adult short courses that our education manager, Miles Payne, created these adult short courses. And there was like piano for older hands, electronica music. It was yoga, Pilates. I mean, it was just amazing. So we do a lot.
And
We
you-
do a lot here.
And you work with NMIT for probably the younger teenage. Charles was saying the other day, working with NMIT,
Well, we do.
sharing their space.
Yeah, we do share their space. And that's where a lot of the rock and pop kids go in. I know my son is in a band and they go and practice over there. And then we did a showcase with these rock and pop bands in the Johnny Cash room.
Yeah.
And it was such a cool experience for them because they got to do the lights. They got to figure out what a sound check is like. You know, you don't get
Yeah.
that opportunity when you're just at home
At home,
playing
yeah.
your, yeah, right, exactly. So we do share that space.
Tell us, how do you fund something like this? One of your major roles is to obviously fundraising, think of new ideas, new events.
Yes.
What's the challenges with that?
Well, as you might assume, it's really challenging out there right now
Yeah.
because we are a charitable trust. So we depend on a lot of contestable grant funding. And we're finding that those grant bodies are either not funding the arts or that money that they used to fund is halved or even not existent. So it's really a struggle. And so we're just trying to think outside of the box. Of course, we get help from Nelson City Council, but for me, it's like, okay, well, we need to think in broader strokes here. And one of the things, and this was even before I came on, they have created the Nelson Center of Musical Arts NCMA Foundation. And that has a goal of 10 million.
Mhm.
So we're working on getting funds to put in that. And what will happen is we will use that money to fund NCMA so we can become financially independent. I mean, it's a lofty goal. We're not quite there yet, obviously, but we're working on it. But we're working towards financially independence because looking at a future of just depending on grants doesn't seem sustainable,
It's
right?
hard.
We got to do something for ourselves. We really have to be smart about it. And that's where we're going. Of course, we have the Cat Video Festival.
Yes, yes, that's right.
The last
Well,
one was very
It
successful.
was amazing.
People rant and raved
It
about.
was amazing.
Well, you may as well do the plug for that now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's August 17th. So,
I'll do the background music. Go.
okay, awesome. Cat Video Festival, August 17th.
I thought
It's
you
going to
said
be a
that.
perfect night. It's going to be a meowvelous evening, a lot of feline funniness. But it was a lot of fun, and we've had some great sponsors donate some gifts for the raffles. And you know what it was a midwinter laugh when it gets a little dark and you're just a little bit like, people just came out and laughed. And I can't tell you, so many people came up to me afterwards and said, you know what, I needed that. I'm like, great. And we are donating $1 off every ticket to the SPCA.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Nice stuff.
Yep.
You've talked about the money challenges. What other kind of challenges do you have?
To be honest, that really is it
That's-
because we have everything else.
Right.
We've got very talented teachers, engaged staff, students. Everybody's really excited. It's just the boring stuff, right? Like lighting and the electric bill and the insurance bill and cleaning the roof. It's
So
just
a lot
keeping it.
of the maintenance, a lot of the fix-ups
Yeah.
have already been done.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's-
Well, but now it's like we opened again in 2018. So it's just coming to that point where all of a sudden
Yeah.
we're going to have to start doing things again.
Maintenance schedule.
Right. Yeah. So
And then on the plus side,
Mm.
it must be pretty enjoyable. So tell us about what you enjoy the most here.
You know what I love? When I come to work and I walk down the hallway just to the meeting, which is at the end of the building, and there's a gaggle of ballerinas in a room. They're like, all, and they're running up
Is that
and
what you
down
call them, a gaggle?
a gaggle?
Is it?
I don't know.
Oh, what
That's
is
a
the
good
group of
word.
ballerinas
An
called?
ensuite.
An
Oh,
ensuite?
there you go.
Ensuite
That's
of
a bit more
Is it?
posh, isn't
Oh,
it?
yeah, better than a gaggle.
I don't know.
A bunch of
No, it's just,
Ballerina.
Yeah, I get what you
I know
mean.
what the-
I shouldn't have brought it
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you know, we
yeah.
and the kids are running up and down the hallways, and then you have beautiful Kyoko playing in the Steinway room, like this beautiful classical music is going, and then Lissa, who is on our board, teaching cello, and it's just like all there's a cacophony of like music and energy and sound, and it's all like raising people's vibrations. You know what I mean? It's all like uplifting.
It's energy.
It's good energy.
energy.
It's really good energy.
So
Yeah.
outside of here,
Yes.
I was going to say you got a young family, but your kids sound a wee bit older.
No, they're 10, I mean, 10 and 9.
Oh, 10 and 9.
Yeah,
okay.
so
I was thinking like 4 or 3 or something.
can't really be left on their own and can't drive. So I'm
Yeah.
still pretty,
Right.
pretty tied up.
So being in Nelson and
Mm,
choosing a sunny spot,
yeah,
has that dream come through? Come
absolutely.
true, not through.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, are you kidding? The fact that I can walk out my back door, we live up the brook, and just walk up a mountain, go for a hike.
Yep.
We can go to the beach 5-10 minutes away. We can swim in the rivers. It's just the sunshine. The fact that this is winter. I do come from Minnesota where it's 30 below zero and like 6 feet of snow.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And my kids have just really adapted here in such a great way. They've got great kids. Great friends, and we're just, it's just a beautiful place to live. It's so just being that close to nature and like abundant nature, not just like, oh, there's a little park in the middle of the town. It's like, it's everywhere.
You got 3 national parks
It's
to play in.
oh,
you know,
Mabel Tasman.
You're close to the West Coast. And everything in New Zealand's like you can be in Wellington by plane in 30 minutes.
Oh,
Auckland's an hour and 20 minutes away,
so
by plane.
close, so
New
easy.
Zealand's
Picton, Blenheim, easy.
the for we should be here in the mid-70s, and whether it's mid-70s, mid-80s, mid-90s till present day, people say it's a great place to bring kids up
Yes,
because there's lots to do.
Yep.
And it's safe.
yes,
You feel that as in safe.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, coming from
Right.
the US, where the number one cause of child death is firearms,
Yeah.
Mhm.
this is true,
Mm.
which is insane.
Crazy.
Right. So
Yeah.
I look at Nelson, I'm like, the kids can run around. They're going up to their friend's house, running around on their bikes. Like, I feel very safe here.
Yeah.
And clean. Like, the air is just so like, there's something about Nelson, right? Even in the winter when you get that crisp, cold air, and I don't know, and the water, that the fact that we can just go jump in a river. We go down to the black hole and jump in, and I just love it. It's I think that's probably my favorite part of moving to Nelson, is the river, just swimming in the rivers.
Well, I mean, and that's interesting because, I'm sure you've heard there's been a lot of talk about revitalisation in the city,
Mhm.
and you work in the city, you
Yep.
pretty much live in the city.
Yeah.
And, and especially, it's interesting talking to people who have lived elsewhere,
Mm.
their perception, because, we always talk about Nelson being, it needs this, it needs that. But that's not always the case when you're talking to people who have lived in other places.
Yeah.
They say, well, what are you talking about? It's beautiful.
Exactly.
However, I mean, we all want improvement and we want development. So what do you like about Nelson City? And you've mentioned some of that,
Yeah.
but the city itself, but also what would you like? What do you think it's missing? What would you like to see happen?
Well, what I love about Nelson City is that it's so accessible. You can bike. We have a cargo bike. So we put the kids on the back. We go play tennis or go down to the library, go to a restaurant. I love the walkability. I love the upper Trafalgar Street where you can grab a bite to eat. You can hang out. There's always something going on. There's, Clay Week, or there's some kind of
There's always something
performance. There's a lot going on in Nelson. It's so funny you asked about the one thing. I'm like, the one thing I would change. I'm like, can I get a coffee after 3?
Yeah.
That's it.
That comes up, doesn't it?
That's it.
You can. Being
Yeah.
the business, you can go to
Tides.
no. You
I've
can,
been that they
no, no, no,
Tides
no,
will
no,
do
no,
it.
no, no, no. See,
Because this comes up a lot.
This comes up a
It's
lot.
not the only
You're
one.
not the only
No,
one.
no,
It comes up a
But
lot.
you need to.
And he
you
always
need-
has to defend it.
No, I don't have to defend it.
Oh,
The
cool.
answer's is staring you in the face.
What is it?
Anytime after 3 o'clock, there'll be approximately 18 to 20 places where you can get a coffee.
Okay.
Can you name them, please?
Okay, you know how we like to be. Okay. This is good.
Okay, I'm taking notes.
Wanna
I'm
list-
taking notes.
You know
Yeah,
how
yeah.
in New Zealand you used to go and get a coffee in a meringue at a cafe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can go anywhere. You can go to Urban, Harry's. You can sit outside
Oh, so you
on
don't
the
necessarily need to
street.
go to a
You
traditional cafe.
You don't have to. This whole thing, we need to go to a cafeteria to have a coffee.
No,
You can get it
but a lot of the
urban.
cafes are.
You could go to a lot of those places about outdoor dining.
Well, I went to Tides. Shout out Tides.
Oh,
You can
They
go to
have
Tides.
nice coffee,
Yeah.
coffee, and
But
sit
it's-
outside.
There's coffee. You can get coffee to 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
10 o'clock at night.
If you want to have coffee at 10 o'clock at night,
But you'd,
I
have to
drink
go,
coffee.
but you'd have to go to a bar, wouldn't you?
You can still sit outside, like you could sit outside
Yeah.
outside a restaurant. Like Hopkins used to sit outside. You know, they used to have tables out there. A lot of there's a multitude of
Yeah.
places to get coffee.
And
Sit
look,
outside.
I
If you want
probably
to.
haven't.
but
I
also,
haven't exhausted every. So
but,
that's
but also,
scratch it from the record.
Simon has offered if everyone's short of a coffee,
I go to his house.
he will make.
Oh,
So
so
at the end
I
of this,
love
Great
that.
coffee. We could have tea.
well, no, we'll supply it, and we're going to be supplying his address and phone number.
Okay, great.
Podcast.
Give him a ring.
Yeah.
Give him a ring.
Because he always sticks up
So
for
I'm gonna need a coffee.
Take coffee.
we don't have to drink it. He's got to make
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
It's not
He's
good
got
for
to
me.
make them.
Just put a table outside, al fresco.
Al fresco.
But you've talked about the Cat Festival. What should we look out for coming up?
So that is coming up in August. And then their next push, we've been able to be a part of One New Zealand, which used to be Vodafone.
Mhm.
And they do a program called One Good Kiwi. And we did it last year and we're on the docket to do it twice this year. And it's really easy. You can follow us on social media. It will be happening again in November. And it's just flick us your tokens. So 10 charities every month get to split $100,000. So One New Zealand gives away $100,000 every month between 10 charities, but you've got to get as many tokens as you can. So you download the One Good Kiwi app and you just choose NCMA, flick us your tokens, or you can go on the
right.
website and it's free. So, it's great for people who want to give, but maybe not have a lot to give. It really makes a huge difference. And we were featured in May and we made almost $15,000
Oh, well,
tax
cool.
free.
Okay,
So that's a great
great.
program. So shout out to One Good Kiwi and One NZ for that because that's pretty amazing.
And keep the impromptu performances on social media. They're fantastic.
The impromptu performances.
Well, we see that occasionally there's a bit of a jam
Yeah.
on and it's great to see.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
live lounge. Usually
right.
so we have a free music lounge every Friday. Come
Oh.
on down. I'm usually manning one of the bars and local musicians, and it's just a great way to unwind after work, 5 to 6:30, and
Oh, wow.
come on
cool.
down and have a drink and just relax and listen to some good music.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, look, thank you very much, Jessica.
Thank you. Appreciate
Not only for providing the backdrop to this
it.
this podcast, it's massive history. I mean, those that have lived here most of our lives, it's just been part of our lives.
Yeah.
Been to many concerts, performances, comedians, and
Good.
it's great to see it's in such good hands and just looking spectacular.
Fantastic.
And it sounds like lots going on too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
And if any of your listeners haven't been in, we invite you to come in because this is a place for everybody. We want everyone to come in. And
Yeah, it's almost
experience
actually
it.
when you're living here, it's probably a case of, I haven't been there for a while.
Or you just
You
drive
know,
by, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Like come on in and check out because
Yeah.
we've got a lot of new programs and there's
Do
something
you
for
have open
everybody.
days?
We haven't.
Yeah, people
Not a
say.
bad idea.
Yeah,
Every Friday you can pop in.
Yeah, every
Friday.
Friday,
Every Friday's
come
open
down.
day.
Yeah.
Open mic.
Yeah.
Oh, do you let randoms perform?
No. Sorry, Simon,
It's
but
like being
I
in the
mean-
office. Everyone gangs up against
You
me.
could-
Why?
you could-
and you're the main
You
instigator.
could bring Tim from Beggs.
Yeah.
We tried to get, we did a podcast at Tim.
Yeah.
So what instruments do you play, Tim? He goes, mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I said, you must play half a dozen, a dozen. He goes,
Mhm.
mm-hmm. I said, so you're the only guy in the music industry in
Who
New
doesn't-
Zealand who doesn't play an instrument. He went,
Mm.
So it's been bugging me ever since.
But he
Oh,
knows
funny.
that. He knows his stuff.
Oh yeah,
He
he's
does. But he
great.
must
Yeah.
play something.
Well, get him down here on Friday night. You and Tim. That's what I'm.
Yeah,
All you
mission.
got to do is form a band, and we'll get you on the ticket next
That's
next
right.
year for our next. Yeah,
But so you said you got a cargo bicycle.
I do.
That's the thing where you can put half a dozen kids on the back, aren't they?
Well, not
About
I get
both.
two. I can fit
Who's the
two.
one out front on the blue bike that's got go wide or something on it? And it's a big orange square thing on the side.
You know, that's Claire who works here.
No?
That's Claire
That's weird.
Monty. Yes, she also is a
That's
fellow
like-
cargo biker.
You'd have to go to the other side of New Zealand to
Ah,
get past it.
Safety first, mate.
Safety.
Safety first.
We're going to leave it on that note.
Yeah.
And then we found out who owns the cargo bike with the wide
All right.
berth.
Hey, thank you very much, Jessica. It's been
Thanks.
fantastic. Great to hear your
Great to
story and great to meet you. And yeah, great to learn more about this place.
Thanks
So,
for having me.
you can find this podcast and others on uniquelynelson.co.nz and talknelson.co.nz and also on Spotify. Now Uniquely Nelson on Spotify.
Spotify.
So you can download or just tune in on the phone. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to join us next week for for more of Talk of the Town. This is Chris Butler and Simon Duffy signing off. Until next time, Nelson,
Uniquely sounds.
sound uniquely.
Unique sounds.
Meow.
All right, we're out.
We're going.
Stay unique, Nelson.